Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nedarim Ayin Tes. We are holding on Ayin Ches Amid Beis, almost at the bottom, 2 lines from the bottom. Mosiv Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda has a kasha on whom? On Rabbi Chanina. You see, a fellow whose wife made a neder. This fellow is presented by the Torah with 3 options. He can either certify the neder, hakama. He can reject the neder, hafara. Or he can just remain silent. Now, silence itself can perhaps be interpreted in many ways. Silence can be a silent expression of consent, what we call hakama believe. And that counts as hakama. It's a certification by way of shatika, by way of silence. Shtika can simply be an expression of indifference, a neutral response, in which case the Torah says, we wait until the end of the day, until he clarifies his intention, and if he stays quiet, he doesn't respond verbally to this neder, we interpret his silence as being tantamount to consent and approval, and the neder stands. Now we have a third possible interpretation to shtika, which Rabbi Chanina calls sheisek al banasla mekat. Mekat means to spite, to tease. This rude fellow is trying to do it in spite of his wife. So he's trying to pretend as though he's going to let the neder stand and she's going to be stuck with the neder. So he doesn't bother rejecting it at this point. He just stays quiet, non-responsive. And she's thinking, okay, this neder is going to stand, I'm stuck with it. But really, he has an agenda, he has a plan. He intends on rejecting, he intends on canceling the neder. But not yet. Let her suffer a bit. A rude fellow, let her live with it for a while, and then later on I'll take care of the neder and remove it for her. This is what we call sheisek al manas mekat. It's similar to goinev al manas mekat, one steals in order to tease, which of course is asur. So here Rav Chanina tells us a chiddush. Unlike your typical shtika, which is interpreted as implicit consent, once the day goes by without further elaboration, the fact that he lets it go indicates that he's okay with it. Here, it's different. Here, it's not a kiyum, because let's say he couldn't protest, or he doesn't want to protest at this point for whatever reason. He wants to hide his true intention. That's not an expression of consent. That's not approval. So Reb Chanina was mechadish to us yesterday that even if the day goes by without any further elaboration on his part, but if he knows that he's doing it just to spite, al manas lemekat, that's not called a kiyum, and therefore his ability to do hafara doesn't run out tonight, doesn't expire tonight. He has mikan va'ad asara yamim. It's limitless, endless. Whenever he chooses to do the hafara, he may do so. So Rabbi Chanina's underlying precept is that when the Torah gives you a deadline, when the day is up, the shtika that he did is tantamount to hakama, and he no longer has the ability to do hafara, that's because we interpret that shtika as a kiyum. The fact that he let the day go by without protesting, that's tantamount to approval. But suppose it was not an expression of approval. We know he was prevented from doing the hafara for whatever reason. We're going to see later in the Gemara some examples of such. Or there was a reason why he specifically wanted to keep it under wraps at this point without protest. That's not called a kiyum. The Gemara will actually refute this way of thinking, because although perhaps the concept of shtika being treated like hakama is based on this idea of treating it like a kiyum, because in fact the fact that he fails to protest until the day's up indicates approval and consent. But at the end of the day, so to speak, ultimately any sort of shtika which allows the day to just pass by, Minat Torah is considered a kiyum haneder, regardless of of his agenda, of his plan. The fact is, he was quiet. The neder stands under all circumstances, even if it was intended for lemekat, it was out of spite. Okay, but Chanina disagrees. He holds that it's only interpreted as a kiyum when it is meant as a kiyum. Most Rav Chizda have a kasha, and you Rav Chizda have a brais, which matches up the two, methods of dealing with a neder, hakama and hafara. We find stringencies contained in the hakama option, which are not found in the hafara option. And likewise, ubahafer, we find chumra in hafara mibahakim over hakama. How's that? Chaymer behakim. What is found in hakama, not found in hafara? Shashtika mekayemes. Silence can ultimately confirm the neder, if silence is just carried out until the end of the day. Vein shtikim vatelas, we never find that silence can actually affect a rejection of a neder. Number two, kiyein beliboy kayam. If a fellow decided, I like this neder, that neder is now mikuyam. It is affirmed, even though he didn't express it verbally. Kiyein beliboy kayam. And the Ran says, how do we know this to be true? He says, look, the fact that the Torah says that if he is shoysek until the end of the day, the neder stands. Why? Apparently, because that's considered kiyum. So if he's mekayim, believe, when we see it works, even though he didn't express it. Now, why do we have to wait till the end of the day? Says the Ram, because then you know that his shtika was an expression of approval. So if he's specifically thinking as such, I want to be mekayim the neder, right now it's mekuyim. But when he's shaysek, we don't know. We can't read his mind. We don't know what's going on in his heart. That's why the Torah says, wait until the end of the day, which confirms that in fact his silence was an expression of approval. Bottom line is, you see, an unexpressed approval is considered kiyum. Kiyum beliboy kayim, but hafar is not so. Heifer beliboy einay mufar. You cannot reject the neder unless you actually say it out. We have no source that hafara can be done believe. So we have two chumrais found in hakama, not found in hafara. Shtika is a mekayim, kiyum believe is a kiyum as opposed to hafara. Now we have something which is actually inherent in both kiyum and hafara. Kiyum ein yachal lo hafar. Once he's mekayim, that's it. End of the road. You can no longer reject a neder. Heifer and yachal lekayim. Likewise, if he does hafara, it's over. You cannot be mekayim. Okay, let's stop right here. Let's focus on one of the halachis. Katani the Brisa says, Shashtika mekayemus. Silence affects kiyum. Silence is considered consent, approval, certification of the neder. What type of silence? My love, shall we not assume it includes even our case, when he has an agenda, when he has a plan, where his silence was not an expression of approval, rather it was really an initiation of a process which will ultimately result in hafara, but not yet. Now he's just, playing along. And the Brisa says it's called kiyum. That's not like Rav Chanina, who says this type of shtika is not called kiyum. Says the Gemara, no, you're wrong. Loi b'shoisek amnas l'kayim. When the Brisa says shtika equals kiyum, we're not speaking this type of shtika which was not meant as a kiyum. We're speaking about a shtika where he has that in mind. His silence is an expression of consent. That's what he's thinking, and that's why it affects kiyum. Says the Gemara, Hainu kiyum beliboy kayim. Well, that's the second case of the Brisa, that kiyum believe works. Why would the Brisa repeat itself and describe two cases, one after the other, which are really the same? Ela b'sheisek stam. You're right. We're not speaking about kiyum believe. That's already discussed in clause number 2. Rather, when the Brisa speaks about shtika as mekayim, we're speaking about the other type of silence. Plain silence. Indifference. In which case we say that, if that lasts until the end of the day, that's called a confirmation of the neder. So lack of action is the biggest action, is the biggest sign and expression of approval to a neder. But if he specifically does not want to be mekayim, he's thinking, no, I'm not going to be mekayim the neder. I'm remaining silent just to play along, pretend. but really I want this neder out. Who says it's called a kiyum? Perhaps Rabbi Chanina is right, that it's not called a kiyum. Okay, we settled that. Let's just focus on the next part of the brisa. The brisa mentioned that kiyum has chumros and hafara has chumros. Well, until this point we discussed the advantages of hakama. We found two chumros contained in hakama, not found in hafara. What about Bahafer mi Bahakim Minolan? What about the stringencies found in Hafara, not found in Hakama? What are those? We have one. When you make Hakama, ultimately you can be shayel, you can reverse it. Because Hakama is like making your neder. And just like you can be matter your own neder, you can be matter your wife's neder, which you had confirmed. But that method cannot be applied to Hafara. Once you disrupt her neder, you can't go back on that. So that's a chumrah found in hafara, not found in hakama. Hafara is irreversible as opposed to hakama, which can be undone. Okay, so bottom line is, hakama has two advantages. Shtika is considered hakama at times. Kiyum balev works as opposed to hafara, which needs to be expressed. Hafara has an advantage. It's irreversible as opposed to hakama, which can be retracted. Regarding Rabbi Chanina's chiddush, that shoyseg al manas l'mekat is not called a true shtika, we thought we had a kasha which didn't really pan out. But here comes another kasha, which will ultimately result in tiyuvta, a refutation of Rabbi Chanina's concept. Moser Rav Kahana, the brisa says, Vim hachreish yachrish la isha. So the pasuk mentions hachreish yachrish, silent, he'll be silent. And the pasuk concludes, Ki hechrish la b'yem shami, because he was silent on the day of the Shmias HaNeder, on the day that he heard about the neder, that allows the neder to stand. The brisa says, what type of shtika? B'shoisik almanas lamekat, hakasar medaber. We're speaking even about this pretense shtika. It ends up being mekayim the neder, if left unchecked. Ato imer b'shoisik almanas lamekat. You're suggesting that the pasuk here is describing that type of shtika. And that can result in a kiyum. Perhaps shtika, which is merely a pretense, is not considered shtika, which generates kiyum. Rather, we're speaking about a shtika which is leading to kiyum. And the Ran explains that the lashon over here, doesn't mean like before that his shtika is actually an expression of a current kiyum. He's thinking kiyum right now. It can't be that, because otherwise the pasuk wouldn't require us to wait until the end of the day to confirm that. Because if he's explicitly thinking kiyum, it instantly is mekayim the neder. Rather, the Gemara, in referring to shoysek amnas l'kayim, it means that he's right now deliberating. He's thinking, he's mulling it over, with the intent of, yes, being mekayim in the future. So in this case, if the shtika is left without elaboration until nightfall, the neder stands. So perhaps that's the shtika the pasuk is describing. That's considered a kiyum if left unchecked. But shtika amnas l'mekat, which is really just a false expression of his true intention to do hafara, perhaps that's not treated like a regular shtika, which would result in a kiyum haneder at the end of the day. But you can't say that, because when the pasuk repeats again, kiyech rishla, he was silent in face of her neder. So the pasuk here is mentioning shtika many times. Hare b'shoisek amanas l'kayim akasam medaber. That expression, that pasuk, has already covered the standard shtika. In which case he has a kavanah to be mekayim in the future. Actually, the Ran learns that amanas l'kayim means he has in mind that the neder should be mekuyim at the end of the day. That's what it means. His shtika now is a sign of indifference, with a full knowledge and awareness that if he leaves it unchecked, almanas l'kayim, it will become a kuyim at the end of the day. So that pasuk, Yechosh, already covers that type of shtika. Hamani mekayim im hachrish yachosh isha. So what's the meaning of the first part of the pasuk? Hachrish yachosh pasuk is describing many forms of silence. Evidently, we're addressing a different variation of silence. Which one? Even that's considered shatika, which has the same consequence. Tiyufta. Indeed, this is a kasha, a refutation of Chanina. We see even this type of shtika, where it's not really a true expression of intention to do kiyum. He's just doing it in spite. He's pretending. The fact is, he was quiet. Day is up, it's over. The neder stands. Asks the Gemara, but we have another type of shtika. Maybe that's what the extra pasuk is referring to. Not sheisek amnas l'meikat, where it's not really an expression of kiyum. But like him, ha b'sheisek amnas l'kayim. We have two psukim. So one pasuk can be applied to sheisek amnas l'kayim, the standard shtika, where he knows it's going to just end up being mekuyim at the end of the day if left unattended. Ha b'sheisek stam. And the other pasuk of shtika is just a passive shtika. He has nothing in mind. He's just, playing neutral. He's not really thinking into it much. And in fact, that shtika turns into a kiyum if left unchecked at the end of the day. So we sort of have four shtikas now. We have a fellow who's shaisik, but he's thinking kiyum right now. That creates an instant kiyum. We have a fellow who's shaisik, knowing that if he doesn't get his act together, it's going to become a kiyum at the end of the day. That's shaisik amnas l'kayim. We have shaisik stam. He's not thinking into it much, just keeping quiet. There again, at the end of the day, it's mekuyim. And then we have the fourth variation of shtika. Shaisik amnas l'kayim. Amnas l'meikat, where he has no plans at all of letting this neder stand. He's just playing along at this moment. So maybe that's not called. That's not considered part of this category of shtika, which the Torah says affects kiyum at the end of the day. So the fact we have two psukim, maybe that's addressing the other shtika. It's not this one. Kroy Yisei Riksibi. We have extra psukim. We have three mentionings of silence. We have Vim Hachresh, that's number one. Yachresh is number two. And then we have at the end of the pasuk Yihachreshla. Vim Shami, three. So one is Amnas L'Kayim, one is Stam, and one is our favorite Sheisek Amnas L'Meikat, proving to us that in fact any sort of silence results in the neder being mekuyim. Because ultimately when the Torah says shtika creates kiyum, when the day is up, it's any form of shtika, even a shtika which isn't necessarily an expression of approval. Maser Rava, here comes another kasha. Aram Chanina. So the Ran says if somehow we'll come up with an answer to the previous kasha, we have another kasha to refute Rabbi Chanina's chiddush. Any sort of shtika left unchecked ends up in kiyum. Maser Rava. This is a Mishnah we're all familiar with back in the Vayin Vav. Nedarim chashecha. An Isha made a neder on Shabbos, close to Motzei Shabbos, close to nightfall. Even if this neder is not something which affects, Einik Shabbos, but it's an emergency. You have to address it. Otherwise, you let it just pass through the night, pass through the day. I mean, when it's chashecha, you can no longer address that neder. So the Mishnah allows it. Nedarim chashecha mefer la'ach lechash chashecha. So the husband could do hafara before nightfall. Why do we allow it? Because time is of essence. Shem lo yefer. Because if he were not to do hafara ve'chashcha and it turns dark, he can no longer do hafara. So we allow him to do it even on Shabbos. Asks the Gemara, what's the big deal? Amai. Why does he need to do hafara? The fact that he just let it go makes it kiyum? It doesn't. He had no intention of letting it go. He was prevented by the halach from doing so. So his shtika isn't really a shtika. It's like our case, where he's just pretending. Here it's a bit different. He's held back from doing so because of the halacha, which doesn't allow him perhaps to do this thing on Shabbos. That's not called kiyum. That's not consent. That's not approval. And still we see the Mishnah does consider it like a regular shtika, in which case, as soon as day is up, the neder stands. So you have to, this is another raya against Rabbi Chanina. Any sort of shtika has the same consequence. Here comes the third kasha. Maser Rav Ashi. Nedarim. Suppose a husband gets up and says, look, I know it's a week after my wife made a neder, and I knew that what she said was in fact a neder. But I never knew until this moment that a husband has a right to interfere with his wife's neder. It's news to me. I just got up to the daf and then the shir, and I would love to do hafara, but it's a week later. What is the halach? Does he still have the koyach to do so, or is his time up? Yafir, says the Mishnah, yes, he can do hafara. This is called yom shamai, because although he knew about her neder, and he knew that it was a neder, but he didn't know that he has the ability to interfere. It's only today that he became aware of his ability to do hafara. That's called yom shmiyah, a day of awareness. So he has until today, shkia, to take care of it. So this is agreed upon by all shitas. If he only found out about his abilities today becomes yom shmiyah. What about the reverse situation? He says, look, it's a week after the neder. I knew all along that a husband can do hafara, but I was missing one crucial part. But until now, I didn't know that this is one of the types of nedarim that a husband can interfere with. We're going to learn in the next Mishnah, Be'ez Hashem, that a husband can't just step in and disrupt any neder of hers. It has to be a neder which belongs to two specific categories. So I didn't know that this was one of those eligible nedarim. Question, can he do hafara today or not? Remember, the neder was said a week ago. I knew about the neder. But until today, he didn't know that this is a neder that he can take care of. He can't. The fact is, he knew about the neder. He could have done a forest neder. He was shaysik, even though it wasn't necessarily an expression of consent. He didn't even know that he can do the hafara. So lack of hafara doesn't really is not really indicative of haskama. Still, it's over. Shtika creates kiyum. They say no, he still can hold on to his right of hafara. The neder is still alive, so to speak, because until he actually knows all the facts, that's not called yom shmiyah. Once he's aware of his ability, now it's called yom shmiyah, and the clock starts ticking. The question is, let's focus. Let's say on Ramir. Time's up. Lo yafer. What do you mean? Just because he was quiet? That's like the case of the fellow who's pretending. So his shtika isn't an indication of haskama here as well. His shtika was in no way an expression of kiyum. It was simply an expression of ignorance. Why does it create kiyum? To Yufta, this is another kasha on Chanina. Bottom line is we see that once a fellow is silent, the end of the day creates kiyum. And the Iran says that's the halacha l'maisa. Any form of shtika only allows him to address the neder on the day of, and that's it. And furthermore, if he's shoysek amnas l'kayim, meaning he's thinking kiyum right now, that creates an instant kiyum on the spot. Hadran Allah, nara hamurasa. Okay, so as promised, we're going to explore which nedarim can a husband do hafaras nedarim on. Ve'elu nedarim shu meifer. Dvarim sheyesh behen inui nefesh. Things which generate pain and discomfort upon his wife. For instance, im erchatz, im lo erchatz, I'll wash, I won't wash, im iskashet, lo iskashet, I'll beautify myself, I won't apply cosmetics. And the Gemara will explain exactly how this commitment is expressed. These are called inui nefesh, discomfort, pain, annoyance, and therefore a husband can step in. Rabbi Yossi, ein elu nidre inui nefesh. You've misclassified these nedarim. They're not called inui nefesh. Perhaps they're called, beinoi lebeina, things which affect their interpersonal relationship, but that's not called inui nefesh. Rather, inui nefesh is something which pertains to food, to consumption. Ve'elu he nidre nefesh. I'll tell you examples of nidre inui nefesh. She makes a neder against eating all fruits. That's called inui nefesh. But let's say amra koinam peros ha'olam alai. Right? For instance, she says, I won't eat any, peros of the world. That's called Ina Nefesh. For this allows the husband to step in and reject the neder. But let's say it was specific to this country where she doesn't reside. Paris Medina Zualai. He says, I'm not going to eat bananas of Chile, right? So that's not called Ina Nefesh because he has an easy alternative. Let him import and we'll get it from a different country. And the Ran says that she didn't forbid local produce. It was specific to a certain country where they don't live. So big deal. That's not called Ina Nefesh. Let's say she says Peres Chanvani Ze'alai. Another against a certain merchant's fruit. Eino Yachallah, her husband cannot step in. Give her the other fruit. Let's say he had a relationship with this specific vegetable dealer who gives him credit and perhaps this won't work out with another merchant, in which case she'll be left without her produce. This allows him to do afara hareze yafer because it can result in inu nefesh. These are the words of Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. And the Mishnah seemed to be telling us that only inu nefesh is something which a husband can take advantage of. Nidre inu nefesh to the mefer. Only in the Nedarim which are tagged as inu nefesh allows a husband to do afara. She'ein ben inu nefesh einei mefer. Those that are not included in this under this banner of inu nefesh would not enable a husband to address them. But Tanya, you have a brayso which allows more than just inu nefesh. Ben yish leishta, ben avla bita. We learn from here. Malamet shal bal mefer nedarim sheben el benah. There's another whole category of nedarim that a husband can step in and do afara to. Ben el benah, things which interfere with their personal relationship. Why does the Mishnah limit itself to inu nefesh and does not discuss Nedarim beinoi lebeino? Answers the Gemara, Amri de Bnei Yeshiva responded, you're right, Halein v'Halein Mefer. Whether it's this group of Nedarim, whether that group of Nedarim, whether it's inu nefesh or beinoi lebeino Mefer, indeed they're all eligible candidates for aforos Nedarim from the husband. But there's a slight difference between the two in terms of how effective this hafara will be in the long term. Mihu, however, when it comes to Nedarim which are inui nefesh, Mefer lo'ilam, that hafara knocks it out forever. Even if he should divorce her, that neder no longer exists. It's a comprehensive uprooting of that neder. Aval ein behen inu nefesh. But those that are not tagged as inu nefesh, rather, they're considered beinoi lebenah, things which interfere with their marriage. So that hafara is limited to the time that they're married. It's a temporary suspension of that neder. When while she's with him, so then the hafara suspends the neder, and she could ignore the neder. But once he divorces her, she's no longer with him, and this neder that she made no longer affects their relationship. They're no longer married. Chayil Allah nidra. So the neder is reimposed on her. It comes back. It relands. And the Gemara elaborates again. Some take out the next 4 words. But dvarim sheben el benah, things which are beinoi lebenah, she'ein beinoi nefesh, are not considered nefesh. Then we say that it's only a temporary suspension. Aval yesh beinoi nefesh, but things which are things which pain and discomfort the isha. In that case, the Torah gives him the right to uproot the neder entirely. Lo yechayil alei nidra. The neder is totally, ineffective. It's cancelled. It's uprooted forever. So the Gemara learns that when it comes to inu nefesh, the Torah gives him the right to totally cancel it. He directly challenges, breaks up, cancels the actual neder, and that cancellation lasts even past their marriage. But when it comes to beinoi lebenah, that's something which he has a right to do only in as much as it affects his relationship with her, and only as long as they're married. Asks the Gemara, really? Things which are not inu nefesh related, meaning things which are personal between them. You're going to tell me that it comes back once he divorces her? We seem to have a Mishnah which tells us otherwise. Vatnan. So the Mishnah is discussing a case where an Isha made a neder. You can't have any of my income. Anything that I earn is usher to you, my husband. And the fact is that an Isha is committed to bringing in some income, as we learned in Maseches Ksubos. So really, her neder doesn't take off. His claim, his shibud, is stronger than her neder. Therefore, says Tanakama, don't worry about the neder. She has no koyach to make a neder on something which is meant for him. But there is a dissenting view. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler Aimer Yafer. We advise the husband to do hafara. You know why? Although, currently speaking, while you married her, the neder is totally ineffective. But we have to look ahead. There's always a possibility. Shema Yigar Shena. He might divorce her. Utei Asura Alai. In which case, this neder, which she had made, which is called Beinoi Lebina, because it affects their relationship. It's a marriage interfering neder. Although during marriage, while they were still together, we say the neder is inactive. But once he divorces her, that neder comes back to haunt her. Now she's ushered to him and he can't retake her. Right? Because once he divorces her, the neder gets activated, it's triggered, it lands, it's applied, and that's it. Even if he should choose to retake her, she's ushered to him. She can't bring him in any income, is ushered to him. Therefore, we advise him to do hafara right now to address this remote possibility. Bottom line is, Alma, we see from this mission that what? We're concerned about post-divorce. So what do? We do hafara. What does hafara help you? If hafara regarding a neder of beinoi lebina is only effective temporarily until they divorce. So you haven't really addressed post-divorce in any case. Alma ki megarish lo umefer lemikara. Apparently you see from this Mishnah that it's not so. That once he's mefer lemikara, he does hafara way back while they're married. Even if he goes and he's megarish lo, havya hafara, that initial hafara, that original disruption, does in fact disrupt the neder permanently. This is not consistent with your teretz. Amri, in fact, the Gemara responds, you're right. Let's revise, let's modify that answer. In fact, a husband has a right to do hafara on inui nefesh, things which pain and discomfort her. He has a right to do it on devarim shebeinoi lebina, things which interfere with their relationship. But there is a slight distinction. Not as, the gap isn't as wide as we said before, but there is a distinction nevertheless. Halein v'halein, whether it's these nedarim or those nedarim, havya hafara, they're all eligible for hafara. But there is one difference. Eloi nidrei nefesh. But when it comes to things which are inui nefesh, there the hafara is comprehensive. Mefer bein la'atzmai ubein la'acherem. The hafara that he will do today on that neder benefits him, benefits a future husband. It's uprooted entirely, for all time. But ein bein inui nefesh, things which are not classified as such. Rather, they're classified as beinoi lebina, marriage-related issues. There, the Torah gives him the ability to do hafara, but it's limited. Only pertaining to himself. Whether in this marriage, or perhaps in future marriages with the same Isha. Oh, so we've expanded it to that as well. And that addresses the Mishnah that we just learned. La'atzmai mefer. The hafara pertaining to these issues are effective for any scenario, any situation which can impact him, whether during this marriage or a future marriage. La'acherem einu mefer. But it will not impact other future husbands. So back to that Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda, it's fully understandable that if he does hafara on this neder beinoi lebina, even if he should divorce her and decide to retake her, it works. Because it's la'atzma, it pertains to himself. And the hafara is still active throughout. First marriage, post-divorce when he can still take her back, and ultimately when he takes her back, the hafara is still alive. And therefore it works. So back to our Mishnah. The question was, why does the Mishnah only mention inui nefesh when we know there are other nedarim B'nei B'no, which he can be mefer as well. This is the reason, because there's a difference between the two things. The hafara on inu nefesh is more comprehensive and all-encompassing. The Mishnah says like this: which nedarim can a husband do hafara on in a permanent way, in a comprehensive way, in a way that positively impacts himself and other future husbands? That ability, that privilege, is limited to only nedarim she'esh ben inu nefesh. Because when it comes to the other nedarim, ben el ben, although he could do that for, the Torah only gives him a schus, in as much as it's going to benefit himself. But another husband, the hafara will not work for that situation. Okay, so in conclusion, we had hakama, hafara, and shtika. In shtika we have many variables. A shtika, which is meant as a kiyum right now, works right away. A passive shtika, in which case he knows that just staying unresponsive will affect a kiyum at the end of the day. Okay, day's up, we have a kiyum. What about shoysek amnas lamekat? He's just pretending, he's playing along, but he really intends on doing hafara, according to the maskana, the Gemara. That too will create hakama at the end of the day. What type of nedarim can a husband do hafara on? And by the way, according to the Ran, this idea applies to a father with his daughter as well. He's limited to doing hafara to these types of nedarim, inu nefesh and b'nei b'no. So the Mishnah describes cases of inu nefesh, and Rashi says that's not called inu nefesh. Rather, inu nefesh are things which make her asr for achila, peris, all that. And according to the maskana of the Gemara, although a husband can be made for both types of nedarim, but there's a difference. Inu nefesh is absolute. It's off the map. Hafara is permanent. When it comes to b'nei b'no, it's exactly as such. B'nei b'no, something which affects our relationship, okay, that he can take off. Whether it's in this marriage or a future marriage. But that's it. If she marries another person, the hafara is no longer effective, and the neder is back alive. All the best to you, and hatzlacha meruva.